The story I am about to tell you is a true story. All the events are real and took place in France. Only the names of people and places have been changed. I put her at about 35. She was slender, with fine features and deep black hair. She wasn't entirely without charm, but she was still one of those women inhabited by a crippling shyness. At the door of the modest office I call my own, she hesitated, studying me with her hazel-colored eyes. "Mr. Malik?" "That's me." I stood up, pushing aside the evening papers, while noticing she wore no wedding ring. I pointed to the chair intended for my clients. "Please, have a seat, Miss Christie." "Alice Christie," she replied, which confirmed my belief that she was not married. She sat on the chair, perfectly upright, her back stiff, her ankles and knees pressed tightly together. She wore a small navy blue suit, very classic, unpretentious. The blue fabric bag she held in her hands, clutched tightly on her knees, looked rather worn. "What can I do for you, Miss Christie?" "Well, I found your address in the professional directory, Mr. Malik," she said, looking at me with great timidity. "I believe you conduct investigations into people." "Yes, that's correct. It's what my license allows." "What are your rates?" My usual fee was $100 a day plus expenses. I had no reason to offer her a discount. Yet I felt, without quite knowing why, that such a sum would be too high for this client. It must also be said that Miss Alice Christie had the air of a naive little thing, and she intrigued me. "Well, my rates, Miss Christie, they depend. What is your problem?" She stopped looking at me to stare at a corner of my office. "It's rather difficult to say." "It's always difficult to say. You just have to start at the beginning." "Yes, of course." Finally, all at once, she stopped, rummaged in her bag, and, without a word, handed me a sheet of paper folded in four, a vibrant red. Unfolding it, I saw it was a kind of newsletter with photos of men and women of all ages, accompanied by their descriptions and post office box numbers. The newsletter was titled The Love Courier. What do you think of someone who dares to subscribe to a newsletter like this, Mr. Malik? What did I think of these Lonely Hearts Clubs? That they were haunted by neurotics, thrill-seekers, and clever adventure hunters. Whatever I answered, I could only offend her. So I avoided a direct response. "To be honest, I've never really thought about it, Miss Christie." "Well, I have. I know what people think of it, and they are probably right." Her voice broke, then she continued as if she no longer had the slightest hesitation, her gaze fixed on the bag resting on her lap. Her words came out without a trace of passion, but with a certain disenchantment. "Mr. Malik, I am 35 years old. My father was killed in a car accident the year I graduated from college. My mother was left an invalid, confined to a wheelchair from the same accident. Since then, for 15 years, I have been all alone, taking care of her. I tended to her constantly. I sacrificed my life for her. Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I only did my duty. I never had a social life, very few friends. I always had to think of my mother. Then, 8 months ago, she passed away. My intrigue grew. I understood that before proceeding, Alice Christie needed me to be fully aware of her situation. I was beginning to get an idea of what she was going to ask me. "And so, if I understand correctly, you met someone through this club." She nodded. "Yes, someone had left this newsletter in a restaurant, and I picked it up. I found this ad for a gentleman of a certain age. I was interested. I joined the club, and we began to write to each other." She paused, then continued with simplicity. "His name is Homer Ackerman. He's a widower and lives in Kansas. He wants me to join him there to marry him. He called me from there last night to ask me again." Yes, it was all clear now. Alice Christie had been starved of male companionship. She wanted a man to see a real woman in her. She desperately wanted to fill the void in her existence, but she was aware of her weakness, her inexperience. She didn't dare to commit. And that's where my role began. I got straight to the point. "But you're not sure of yourself, are you? You'd like me to go and see this Mr. Ackerman and give you my opinion? Is that it?" She hesitated slightly. "Yes, I think that's it." Ah, you only think so? What I mean is, now that I'm here, she trailed off, intimidated, you must think I'm a little crazy. No, that wasn't what I thought at all. No, not at all, mademoiselle. On the contrary, you are perfectly right to hire a detective. Good. Now, if you would give me some more details. She took a deep breath before telling me where Ackerman's farm was located. As for your fees, Mr. Malik, we'll talk about that when the time comes. Today is Tuesday. I suggest you come back to see me on Friday afternoon. I gave her my most reassuring smile. Quick service, that's my motto. My little joke brought a brief smile to her lips. Thank you, Mr. Malik. She stood up, then left, but only for a moment. A few seconds later, she stopped on the threshold of my office, just as she had the first time. I don't really know what I intend to do yet. I understood. I gave her a small, reassuring wave of my hand. One thing at a time, Miss Christie. Friday afternoon, all right? You're not making fun of me, are you, Mr. Malik? No, Miss Christie, I am not making fun of you. No, I wasn't making fun of her. And yet, it was the most unusual case I had ever been given. But I was going to do my best, as if I too had wished to no longer be alone. Homer Ackerman's farm was located on the outskirts of a small town a few kilometers east of Topeka. By taking a jet, then a rental car, I was able to reach the hamlet the following day in the mid-afternoon. My plan was simple. I would make the rounds of the local merchants, perhaps even the pastor and the doctor, to find out what people thought of this Ackerman. If I needed a cover, I would introduce myself as a representative of a credit agency. As I spoke with people, I realized they had nothing but good things to say about Ackerman. He was a universally respected citizen, honest and hardworking. It was true that a year earlier, upon the death of his wife, he had been severely depressed and had started drinking. But for some time now, he had been sober again. The next day, I went back to see the local hotel keeper, whom I had already questioned, to ask him for directions to the farm. You would have sworn he was expecting me. He looked at me with a certain solemnity, mixed with curiosity. I'm sorry, sir. Oh, why is that? Mr. Ackerman was killed last night. He drove off the road and hit a tree. His rib cage was crushed by the steering wheel. I stood there, petrified. I could think of nothing but the inevitable disappointment Alice Christie was about to feel. The hotel keeper had more information. Ackerman had arrived in town mid-afternoon and had gone to a tavern where he began to drink, heavily. No one could stop him. He was in very bad shape when he left the place behind the wheel of his car. I was still shaken. But I thought he had stopped drinking. Oh no, he wasn't an alcoholic, no. Last night was the anniversary of his wife's death. He loved her very much, you know. I think he got the blues and wanted to forget, that's all. Yes, that had to be it. Ackerman must have seen in Alice Christie a betrayal of his deceased wife. And yet, I was suddenly struck by another idea, a mere suspicion, but an entirely plausible one. Yes, there was another possibility. I truly didn't know how I was going to break it to Alice Christie. The shock might shatter her. Before leaving town, I went to see the sheriff, who confirmed the hotel keeper's story. Such a shame, he told me. He was a very good man. Yes, he certainly seemed perfect, I replied. I returned to my office and thought about what I was going to tell Alice. She arrived as planned on Friday afternoon. She was wearing a different suit, dark brown, but just as classic. She seemed less hesitant, as if she had rehearsed her part. As for me, I still hadn't decided what I would say. Before you tell me anything, Mr. Malik, she began, with a small, tight smile, I'd like to talk to you. There's something you need to know. Oh, really? Yes, I've decided not to go through with this adventure. Whatever you've learned, I don't want to marry Mr. Ackerman. My blood ran cold. I remembered her hesitant words. I don't really know what I intend to do yet. But, Miss Christie, I thought, I know what I said. But you see, that same day, a little later, I came to my senses. I realized I was behaving like a fool, that I had no grasp of reality. My heart tightened as I asked my next question. So, you called Homer Ackerman to tell him? How did you know, Mr. Malik? From what you just said, I figured you had called him. Yes, that's right. I called him on Wednesday evening. I told him I had behaved like a schoolgirl, that I was sorry, but that I should never have written to him in the first place. I hoped he would understand. I told him I would never write or call him again. Did he understand? Well, not right away. At first, he thought I was teasing him. Then he tried to convince me. When he finally understood that I was serious and that I wouldn't change my mind, he eventually hung up. There it was, the complete picture. Ackerman had hung up, filled with sadness and disillusionment. And it was after that that he had taken his car to go drown his sorrows at the tavern. Alice Christie looked at me. About your fees, I assume you went there. I took a deep breath. I had to give a number. $150 will cover everything, Miss Christie. Are you sure? Quite sure. She took the bills from her bag. Then, as she prepared to leave, she seemed to ponder a question. You know, Mr. Malik, it doesn't really matter anymore, but I'm still a little curious. What did you find out about Mr. Ackerman? I had anticipated her question. Until that moment, I truly didn't know what I was going to answer, and I heard myself say, almost mechanically, Miss Christie, you may have acted intuitively, involuntarily, but I believe you made the right decision. From the information I was able to gather, Homer Ackerman would not have been a very desirable husband. He's a compulsive gambler who only tends to his farm when he's forced to. He has a reputation for chasing women, and on top of that, he drinks. She seemed to breathe more easily, as if my report retroactively justified her having had the courage to break things off. It seems then that everything is for the best, don't you think, Mr. Malik? She said to me with a poor, slightly forced smile. Yes, as you say, Miss Christie, everything is for the best.